holding Mesechta Hataamim, Perek Gimel Mishnah Aleph. And again, a quick hakdama for this is simply that first we have Hataamim, which was connected the Yud of Shem Havaya, and we explained that each level that comes in adds a new darga of light, of neshama, to the lower darga. And then we have the idea of siluk. Siluk is the Hey Rishona, connected the Hey Rishona, which is the Or Nekudes and the inyan of Din. This is when the Or, which was chesed and favorable, turns back up to go back to Hashem. And when this happens, there's still a little bit of light. And when this happens, there's still a little bit of light that's showing. But the light is a light of Achirayim, and it's an inyan of Din. For example, the Ari HaKadosh mentions, Demedodi Litzvi, that my beloved is like a deer. And the Ari HaKadosh mentions that just like a deer, when it's being chased, sometimes it'll turn its head backwards, which is the inyan of Achirayim. He says that's the same thing that happens with the Oris or Yonim, that when there's a little bit of pachad, or there's a little bit of chet, so then the Oris are nostalgic. When the Oris are nostalgic, they become Achirayim. And what's the inyan of Achirayim? That's the inyan of Shemas HaKodesh that are written Biribua. So if a Or is Or Panim, for example, it would be Shem Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and it'll be the full Shem. But if there's a inyan of chet, so then the Or is nostalgic, and when the Or is nostalgic, it tries to run back up, back to Hashem, and each level clings to the other level to jump back up. And so then it wouldn't be Yud Kei Vav Kei, it would be Yud Kei Vav Kei. Or for example, Shem Elikim, it wouldn't be Elikim, it would be Aleph Lamed Kei, Aleph Lamed Kei Yud, Aleph Lamed Kei Yud Mem. And so that's the inyan of Achirayim. So now that the Or is going back, the Or Achirayim is in its place. It's a inyan of Din. HaKadosh Baruch Hu can show Bechinas Panim, where he can show Bechinas Din. So now, when the Oris are nostalgic, it's an inyan of Nekudes, an inyan of Din. But not only that, it's more than that. Each level receives from the higher. So, for example, Chachma is receiving from the Achirayim of Keser, whereas Bina is receiving from the Achirayim of Keser and Chachma, because it's receiving its light from two dargas up. Zer Anpin is receiving its light from the darga of Bina, Chachma, and Keser. So because of that, Bina is receiving from three Achirayim. So as the Achirayim is Megala itself to the lower levels, there's more Din, and there's more Din, and there's more Din. There's a riboy of Din. Now, alongside with the Achirayim, there's also a Rishimu. Because when the Or Panim leaves, thankfully enough, the Or Panim leaves the inyan of Rishimu. An inyan of Rishimu is a little bit of light that's left. And this light is left, we mentioned the other shiurim, in order to give a little bit of panim towards the lower dargas. But it's not a great light, it's only a rishimu. When we do mitzvahs, a lot of times there's a rishimu left from the mitzvahs that we do. Every morning when we put on tefillin, a rishimu of the tefillin from the previous day is left. So far we have Yud is Tamim, Hey is Nekudes, and Vav is Tagin. So these Tagin are the Rishimos, and these Rishimos are not in the Kelim, but they're outside of the Kelim, hovering above the Kelim, and that's what gives light to the Kelim, or Nitzutzos to the Kelim, as we'll see. Now, the Kelim from Chachma, and of course it's all Kliya Keser, but the Kelim from Chachma and below are made in an easier way. The way it's made is that the Or HaNekudes is showing, which is the Or Achirayim, and each higher Achor is Meir on the Rishimu of the Sphira beneath it. The higher Achor is Meir on the Rishimu beneath it. So for example, the Achor of Keser is Meir on the Rishimu of Chachma. The Achor of Chachma is Meir on the Rishimu of Bina. And the Achor of Bina is Meir on the Rishimu of Zah. The Achor of Zah is Meir on the Rishimu of Malchus. However, Malchus did not leave a Rishimu. And that's one of the differences that it has from the other Kelim. So in order to make the Kliya Malchus, we say that Malchus is Maka Ba'ora Ha'ola. The Or Hataamim that came originally for the Sphira of Malchus is Maka on the Or Ha'achor of Yisod. That's why the MISHNAS CHASIDIM wrote, Uba Malchus She'ein Ba'resha Maka Ba'ora Ha'ola. Where does it hit? It hits the Or Nekudes of the Darga of Yisod. So now, All that is good and clear. And by the way, it's a little bit unclear which nusach the Baal Mishnas HaChasidim made. On the one hand, it seems that the Baal Mishnas HaChasidim held that the achor of the higher sphera is makeh on the Rishimu of the lower, which is the accepted girsa by Mekubalim. On the other hand, it seems a little bit that he has a different girsa, which is that the or ha'achar is makeh its Rishimu on every level. So, for example, the achar of Chachma hits the Rishimu of Chachma, and etc. for the rest of the spheres. But we're going to take the accepted girsa mentioned by Rabbi Yehuda Bataya and by others, that the girsa is also the Baal Yafashah, that the achar above hits the Rishimu of the sphere beneath. So all this is good and clear. The only problem which is not clear is that the way these Kelim are fully made is when its or leaves and goes up 3 spheres above it. The or leaves and goes up 3 spheres above it. Don't get this confused what we said before about leaving 1 sphere up, the kli turning, that's a different inyan. But here we're saying that Gmiras HaKli is not made only until the or distance itself 3 dargas up. So for example, when the or Malchus leaves, it first leaves from Malchus, and then it goes to Yesod, Hod, Netzach, and then Tiferes. So by the time it reaches Tiferes, again that's Yesod, Hod, Netzach, and then Tiferes. By the time it reaches Tiferes, that's where the Kli Malchus becomes a Kli. And so with all of them. And so if we do the calculation, you'll see that each of the Kelim can be made because they can distance themselves 3 spheres from their Sheresh. But Keser, Chachma, and Bina cannot distance themselves 3 dargas from their Sheresh. And because of that, they have to be made from a whole new way. And that is through Mati V'loi Mati, which is that the Oris go Hispashtos and Histalkos to create these 3 spheres. So now that we have that clear, let's go inside and read it. Perek Gimel, Mishnah Aleph. The darga of the Kli in Olam HaKudim, from Chachma and below, not Kli Keser, from Chachma and below, is made from the Oisios, and the Oisios is Vehema Netzutzos. These are the Netzutzos, the sparks, Shenaflu Me'or HaYerid Ba'aliyasa. It's what falls back, it's the Or HaAchayrayim that falls back as the Or is going back to the Matzil. So as the original Or is going back to the Matzil, we have the Or Achayrayim in its place. As we mentioned in the Shiurim, you have the car lights in the front and you have the red lights in the back. So we have this Or HaYered Ba'aliyasa, which is the Or Achayrayim, which is the inyan of Din. And these lights all shine Derech HaAchayrayim Shel HaOlim. They all shine through the Achor of each other. So in other words, if you're Malchus, you're receiving the Achor lights from many dargas of Achor, because they're all Meir Ba'Achor. And Shekafira V'Achorayim Sha'ever Kach Misraba B'Hadin. And obviously, the more Achor you go through, the more Din is present and prevalent. Shu said Nakudes, this is the state of Nakudes. And so how does the Kelim of Chachma till Malchus become made? So it's through Netzutzos. But how is it done? So he says, these Netzutzos fall. You have a friction from this light of Achor, which is coming down now, from Sphira to Sphira. But Rosh Hamanishar b'Sphiras, and it's hitting the Rishimu underneath each of the Achayrayim. So in other words, like we said, the Achor of Chachma hits the Rishimu of Bina, the Achor of Bina hits the Rishimu of Zah, the Achor of Zah reaches the Achor of Zah reaches the Or of Malchus, which we're going to explain how that's going to be worked, because Malchus itself does not have a Rishimu. As we said, Malchus is made differently. So, Beresham Anishar B'Spheres. So that is the Resham that is left over from each of the spheres. But Tesa or Mehem, when the original or Hataamim leaves them. And since Malchus does not have a Resham, Maka Ba'ora Ha'ola, so it's Or Hataamim that is going up hits the Or Nekudos of din from Yisod. That's how the Kli of Malchus becomes made. Next, Mishnah Gimel. V'lo haya shebechinas Kli nicker, and no Kli was recognized. Ad shaya or shenistak rachik mimeno shlish spheros. V'lo haya shebechinas Kli nicker, and none of the Kelim were recognized and congealed. Ad shaya or shenistak rachik mimeno shlish spheros, until the or that was nostalgic distanced itself 3 spheros from its original place. And it does not include the sphera that was its kli. So the Or of Malchus has to leave not only Malchus, but has to leave Yesod, Hod, and Netzach, and finally reach Tiferes in order to make the kli of Malchus. And what's the calculation of this? So the Gimel Rishonos are not nicker because they can't distance themselves. They can't distance themselves from the Shurish 3 spheres. So how do we make Keser, Chachma, and Bina? We need Mati v'le Mati. In order that we should make the Kliya Keser, and it should be recognized the Kliya Chachma. Because the Kliya Keser Bichlal is not made. That's why he says the Lashon here, Shiyasa Kliya Keser, via Nicker Kliya Chachma. The Kliya Chachma, there is a Kli, but there is a Kli because there's friction. There's the Or Nekudos, that's Meir from Keser, on the Rishimu of Chachma, and that causes a Betisha. The Betisha creates a little bit of Kli. But since it's so high up, it can distance itself 3 dargos, right? That's why he says, via Nicker Kliya Chachma, via Yigle Kliya Bina, right? So because of this, obviously the Kliya Bina is a little bit nicker because it's on a lower darga than Chachma. But it still can't distance itself 3 spheres from its Sheresh. So v'yigmu gam shar kelim, and also the rest of the kelim can be revealed and finished. Nisha ara kaser b'mkoirei. V'yigmu gam shar kelim, and we should complete the rest of the kelim. Nisha ara kaser b'mkoirei. So the or hakaser remains in its place. Upanav l'mayla, and its face is up above, going back towards the matzil. The or hakaser goes back into the pe'avak, into its sheresh up above. Upanav l'mayla, its face is going upwards towards the matzil. V'shara oris shaloi b'seid vav shel shem, and the rest of the oris in the seid of vav, the step of vav, the vav of shem avayim. B'seid vav shel shem, in the step of vav of shem avayim. And by the way, when it says steps, it not only means steps be'emes. Really, that's the koyach that brings this thing to happen. Because Sfarim Kedushim explained that the koyach that makes things work is the Shem Havaya. That's like the commander within the spheres, the Shem Havaya within the spheres. So, b'soid vav shel shem. Now in the step of vav of Shem Havaya, chazvin spashtu b'chilek kliya keser. All the oris come down in the kliya keser, except for keser. B'mati v'lemati nichnas v'yotze, in a hispashtus and a hastalkus, going in and without the kli. Keitzad, how do we see this? Kesha oris nichnasu b'keser, when the oris come in the kliya keser, in the kliya keser, meaning the oris of chachma and lamata, go down to the kliya keser. And let me remind you, the reason why this is happening. First of all, this is called hispashtus habez. This is called the second type of hispashtus. After we explained that there was tamim, and then there was siluk, nekudos, now this is hispashtus habez, the second hispashtus. The second hispashtus, things are very different. All the uris went up, and now they're coming back a second time. Bebechinas panim. And when they're meir, all the uris come into the kli hakeser, except for keser. Except for the Ur HaKeser, which is Nishar with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, as we're saying, Keitzad Kisha Uris Nichnasu B'Keser, when the Uris come into the Chelik of the Kli HaKeser, Rishumai, the Rishimu that was left, for Kli HaKeser, V'Husad Yud, Shusad Azachar, that can be understood as the Yud, the higher Darga, because it's the Kli HaKeser, it's the Rishimu of the Kli HaKeser. That's the Zachar. The Slavish Ora Chachma, that comes enclosed with the Ora Chachma that comes within this Rishimu, right? Vehu Soid Vav the Mili Yud, that's the Vav of the Mili Yud. Yud is spelled Yud Vav Dalet, right? So we have the Vav of Mili Yud. So we have Yud, which was the Rishimu, and we have Vav, which is the Ora Chachma. The Mili Yud, that's the Vav of the Mili Yud. Shu said Nekeva, that's considered the Nekeva, right? And from the sparks that fall from the Ora Chachma and the Rishimu of Keser, that's how Kelim are made. That's how the Kelim of Chachma are made. That's how the Kelim. That's how the Kelim of Keser is made. Of course, this Kli is all Keser, but this is Keser of Keser, right? So that's how the Kli Keser is made. V'heim say Dal is the Mila Yud, that forms the Dalet of the Mila Yud. So you have Yud, Vav, and Dalet. V'nigmeru, and that's how the Kli Keser becomes complete. Kinashach l'machmas or Chachma, because it becomes darkened through the light of Chachma. Hamavsik beinam le'etzem oiram. The Ora Chachma goes within the Rishimu and sort of fogs the light of the Rishimu from its own light. It fogs the light of the Rishimu from its own light, right? It's mafsik, beinam, between the Rishimu, le'etzem oiram, to the etzem of the Rishimu. There's the Rishimu, and then there's the hispashtus of the Rishimu. So when the Ora Chachma comes within the Rishimu area, so what happens is it causes a hefsek, and the Rishimu light is not meir everywhere, and so it darkens. And so that's what we're saying. That causes an interruption between them and the etzem light, and that's the Rishimu that we're talking about. The Zachar is called Yud, and the Nekeva is called Hey. In essence, we could look at the Koyach HaZachar, which is the Rishimu of Keser, and the Ora Chachma, which is Hey. We could look at them as Yud-K, instead of just Yud Vav Dalet, right? We could look at them as Yud-K. So you have a Yud-K by the Darga of Keser. You also have the Ois Yud entirely, right? Because you have Yud Vav and the composite and the Chibur of both of them becomes the Dalet, right? Which creates the Yud. That's what we're saying. So this will also happen to the Kliya Chachma. Because in this way the Kliya Chachma will be finished as well. V'nigmeru, it will become complete. Because the Rishimu of Chachma will become Shneslavish B'Ora Bina, will become Neslavish in the light of Bina. When the Oris of Bina and downwards all become Neslavish in the Kli of Chachma. So that explains the first step of Mati V'le Mati, and you have the different ways of all the Kelim are made. From Chachma till Malchus, the Kelim are made the same, more or less. Malchus is Makeh B'Ora Ha'ola, we explained that, and the Kliya Keser and Chachma and Bina are not rochik from its Sheresh Gimel Sfiros. By the way, just to remember, it's important to know that the Kliya Keser left the Rishimu, but it didn't leave a Kli. And why did it not leave a Kli? Because there's no higher Darga of Or Achor that's mirror on its Rishimu.